Shame this woman!
Shame.
She's for the streets!
Shame.
She's for the avenue!
Shame.
She's for the highways and the byways!
Shame.
She's for the intergalactic super mega highway!
Shame. 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 Shame.
Terry, get your daughter off of the internet, baby, right now! Guys, the case study for the analysis that I have for you here today is a bit perplexing. I think I'm going to refer to this video as the curious case of Terry Crews. Now, you guys all know popular actor Terry Crews. Everybody hates Chris. White chicks. Well, you may also know Terry Crews from his reality show right in the 2010s. And that show was called The Family Crews. Now, it ran for about 2 seasons on BET. And the short synopsis is that this was Terry Crews' family and this was his life. They were essentially like a new age Huxtables, but just with the father being in the entertainment industry. It was showing Black, conservative, Christian values and family dynamics, right? Raising children in this crazy world, right? And essentially it was a positive image placed on this family. Well, I just had some content from one of Terry Crews' daughter hit my timeline, and it is her speaking about her time on the reality show and how it is so markedly different than her life now, the lifestyle that she lives right now, specifically talking about this idea of a purity ball, right? The idea that you're brought through a ceremony to essentially promise that you will be a virgin until you're being married. And the daughter begins to speak ill of what she was put through or what she was forced to be put through. And then I started doing some more digging to see how else that Terry Crews' family has turned out. And then I found another daughter that's like damn near posting her sphincter up on the internet. And I'm just like, wait a minute. How did the family go from Christian conservative, right, strict morals, strict values to, sphincter on the internet? Like what was the downfall or what happened in the middle? So I wanted to go through all of this because to watch the portrayal of the reality show versus what you're now seeing being enacted from his daughters, I got so many questions. And I pose several questions to my audience right here is that as a father, what are you willing to sacrifice to ensure that your daughters do not portray themselves like sluts? What are the rules, the limitations that you set out when they are young in their life and you have them commit to so that they do not either A, resent you later through their demonstrated behavior, or B, have them blame you for the structure that you put within their life? And also, is it truly possible to be a father in Hollywood or Hollyweird? Is this possible? I think about Lawrence Fishburne and her daughter, right? Just creating a porno out of nowhere that was available for public consumption like 20 or so years ago, right? Like, is it possible? Nevertheless, let's just hop right into one of his daughters talking about purity.
I pledged my purity to God on national television. Let's get into it. Yes, I come from a Hollywood family, but I also come from a deeply religious family. I was a very devout Christian girl. I was saving myself for marriage, even bought my own purity ring, and I took it very seriously. Also, I know my face gets very red when I rub stuff on it. A couple of you in the comments have pointed that out. I am aware I'm not having an allergic reaction. Hashtag light skin problems. I have grown up seeing celebrities like Selena Gomez and the Jonas Brothers being talked about for wearing these purity rings. And I figured I could be just like them. I could be an entertainer in Hollywood and still hold on to my faith. So at this point in time, I'm on The Family Crews, the reality show that I had with my family, including my parents, my 3 sisters, and my brother.
Okay.
And the producers really wanted our faith to be front and center of the show. As it was explained to us, they really wanted our show to counteract negative stereotypes about Black people. So we were there to be the wholesome Christian Black family.
Okay.
Ultimately, they decided that me and my sisters would participate in a purity ball.
Deep ancestral side.
I was fine with this because I had already bought my own purity ring. So I was like, shit, I'm already ahead of the curve, y'all. I don't need the ball, but here, I'll come and do it anyway. Okay. In that ballroom with my sisters and a bunch of other mostly Black and brown women, I pledged my purity to God on camera. We made pledges to our fathers and to
Notice that eye roll at fathers.
God that we
And to
would
God.
stay a virgin until we were married and not give a boyfriend-wife privileges. This is actually a lot to remember. I thought I was so grown. I thought I knew everything there was to know about the world. And I went into this purity ball feeling good and feeling holy and feeling like I'm going to be such an inspiration. I want to be clear that saving sex for marriage can be a really beautiful choice.
Sure.
But it should always be a choice. And as someone who was born and raised into the church, fully indoctrinated from my earliest memories, it wasn't really a choice.
Okay.
I pledged
We're going to go over part 2 in a quick second. Couple quick thoughts. And spoiler alert, she's into girls now, all right? She's a full-blooded Super Saiyan lesbian. Nevertheless, I found it interesting that she talked about this sort of growing up in super Christian environments, but then towards the end of this, she describes it as sort of an indoctrination. And that's fine. You can then, negatively classify something that your family is accustomed to. You could do all that you want, especially if you resent it now, all right? But what I also found interesting is that she said that when she was a kid, it was popularized like this purity ring thing. And I think from my age, I was probably like going on to college and I would hear like little things about these purity rings and I'd be like, wait, what? Right? Like I was surprised that like this purity ring concept was like a popularized thing, right? Like for young high school people or what have you. But the culture for teens her age seems to push this purity thing. And she came from Christian conservative. So then begs the question, well, then what happened in the middle? And we're going to go over that as well. And I think it has a lot to do with the resentment of her father's actions. Nevertheless, let's go to part 2.
I pledged my purity to God on national television. Let's get into it. I want to be clear that saving sex for marriage can be a really beautiful choice, but it should always be a choice. And as someone who was born and raised into the church, fully indoctrinated from my earliest memories, it wasn't really a choice. I felt like it was a choice at the time, but I had never been given a choice to believe anything other than what I was taught. When you're taught that anything outside of man, woman, marriage is a sin against your own body, you internalize and embody the message that your body is evil if it desires anything outside of that. That is violence, full stop. Some people have asked a little bit more about my faith journey, and I don't intend to get into the nitty-gritty of everything, but I want to say here clearly that purity culture has single-handedly ruined many, many women and queer people's lives. And men too, if we're honest. And here's something I've learned. Girls like me often go down a very specific pipeline. In my case, it was going from goody two-shoes Christian girl to spiritual lesbian. My process of religious deconstruction lasted many, many years. It took me a very long time to get to where I'm at now. But people like me were often truth seekers, and we bought into the story that we were sold and believed it wholeheartedly. That's why we were such good Christians. When we realized that the truth was not what we thought it was, we couldn't unsee it. Once you train a girl to search for truth, she is going to find it, even if it means leading her out of the youth group and into the arms of another woman, perhaps. Purity culture runs on shame, especially for girls and queer people. Purity culture taught me that my body was a promise that I owed to other people. And healing has been learning that my body is mine, fully, completely, and unapologetically. And if you grew up in it too, you are not alone and you are not broken. Unfortunately, you were taught to ignore yourself, and I'm still learning to listen to my body after all these years. As a young 19-year-old, I happily participated in that purity ball because I genuinely did not know any better. Again, indoctrination is a bitch. Little did I know that about a year later, I would fall in love and actually have my purity tested for the first time. But that's a story for another day.
All right, we don't care. She said absolutely a mouthful. And here's the thing. We're going to take religion 100% out of this conversation because I think it's going to muddy the waters in the point that I will make within this, all right? Because I do think that outside of religious doctrine, you can make a structure or standards or protocols that will generally lead to more life success. But she talks about this idea of purity or saving yourself for a correct person, right? A correct man. I guess in her case, it would be a correct woman, right? But saving yourself for that person or not doing wifely duties, right? Or giving up cheeks to strangers that you meet, right? To people that you are having a good time with. She is saying all of this as it is inherently bad or it is inherently evil. And she utilizes ill-placed words to describe it, such as violence. Ma'am, disagreeing with the doctrine that your family set forth to guide your family as a guiding light to your family is not violence. Growing up with rules to abide by, to guide your life, structure, expectations, is not violence, all right? They exist within every serious belief system on earth, trying or attempting to give you a framework for life based off of history, what has worked well in the past. You are not guided down a path in order to sell your body early, guided down a path to lie, to cheat, to steal, to do things that would obstruct your peace as you transition from a child into an adult. And you had the privilege or the freedom to walk away, which is what you obviously did. That is not oppression or violence. That is a choice. We see the outcomes of women that completely reject and go beyond too far the opposite of purity culture. Shit, I just did a video yesterday on Brittany Renner and her pathetic failing life, going from relationship to relationship, searching for something that she cannot find within herself. She is someone that would reject the purity culture and in fact made a ton of money putting her hindquarters out on these internet streets. And I'm not likening your rejection of it, of doing that. But your sister, on the other hand, we're going to get into that in a quick second. But let's stop the nonsense as if a father or a family's promotion of saving yourself for the right person is evil or violence, all right? You guys know that there's some countries in this world where leaving a faith can cost you your life, right? Whereas in the West, not only can you leave that religion, but you can write a book about it. You can start a podcast about it, right? Like you can monetize your journey of your trauma and, oh gosh, purity. He wanted me to be a pure young lady. It was so violent. It was such violence enacted upon me. How dare my father be so violent towards me? Purity, no. That is not trauma, ma'am. That is what you refer to as a luxury. Please understand and know the difference. Anyway, all right. And we're going to get into why I think she's so resentful of her father. But again, I was up on these TikTok streets and found her sister out here doing what I believe is to be wild work.
Pop my butt, pop my butt.
Do you know what pop my butt meant to Harriet Tubman? Do you know what that meant? It meant a whip. Rosa Parks sat on the bus.
What the fuck is it?
Pop my butt, pop my butt.
Do you know what pop my butt meant to Harriet Tubman?
What is you doing,
Do you know what that
baby?
meant? It meant a whip.
God damn it! What is
Rosa Parks.
What is the meaning of this? Terry Crews, get your daughters off of the internet, baby. What is going on here? Not that. So you've transitioned from Christian conservative to producing daughters with chest tattoos, with the front guts hanging out of the Catwoman suit. What part of the game is this, baby? What? How is the downfall? This is craziness. This is absurd. To her TikTok tune of 108 likes, this is beyond pathetic. Look at some of the. Look at some of the. You ate on this one. On my life. Rocky, you ain't gonna get the cakes, baby. All right. She's repulsed by you. All right. this eats. Eating is half the problem here, all right? But her dad is an endomorph, okay? So the genetics just, okay. I don't know, okay? That's that Gen A, Gen Z shit, I guess. You are so unserious. I love it, all right? All of these women keeping other women single as hell, laughing my ass off, please. Okay, so pretty for free. What? You don't tell me she got an OF, baby. For her to have an OF and also creating content where, all right, the front gut is spilling over like that into the panty, like it would not strike me as, oh, okay, yeah, that didn't make any sense at all. But this is wild work.
Read that.
Who's that in the background? Is that Ayanla Van Sant? Like, who's the voice track over as we look at her under titties, right? Like, shame this woman.
Shame.
She's for the streets.
Shame.
She's for the avenue.
Shame.
She's for the highways and the byways.
Shame.
She's for the intergalactic super mega highway.
Shame. 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 Shame.
Terry, get your daughter off of the internet, baby, right now. Golly. Bring back shame, baby. Where did shame go? Bring back shame shirts down in the description box down below, all right? But this is the escape from Daddy's clutches, all right? He enacted violence on us throughout our life by pushing structure and order, so we will get back at him for doing that to us by any means necesario. The next photo over, there is more photos of the abhorrent and nasty work. I believe this is actually like a carousel of some sort. But yeah, this is how we're doing photo shoots nowadays, I suppose. Nevertheless, it even looks like they got some TikToks here together. Let's see.
Salad? Perhaps not. I'll have the steak smothered in onions, a rack of ribs, pasta with extra garlic, French fries with lots of vinegar,
Oh, it's the whole
and
family?
a side of onion rings with lots and lots of sauerkraut.
For the lady.
Okay, that was it? All right, well, nevertheless. So I know you guys at this point in the video are probably asking like, oh, okay, well, at least two of the daughters, I don't know, apparently there's another one, whatever, don't care. But where could their resentment or why are they demonstrating themselves like this to this degree? And I think it's because for the lifestyle that they were made to live, it seems as though Terry wasn't living that lifestyle as well. He was not living what he preaches.
One thing we do as men, we tend to numb ourselves. This is a part of, you feel like you're being tough. You feel like you're being strong. Like, okay, I don't feel that pain. I can't show that pain. I can't. And drinking is a big, big way of numbing your pain. For me, it was numbed my pain. And like, I still to this day, I've never been drunk. I've never been high. I don't do that, but was something that took me out.
When did that come into your life? When was the first time? Oh
man, I first discovered at about 9, 10 years old. I was over at my uncle's house and he had a chest full of product. And this is the thing, it's funny because the problem is that, you never find it as an adult. I don't know anybody who found as an adult. You always find it as a child. It's everywhere. And it's funny because I've been told, hey man, just mind your business. It's all good. You keep to yourself. That's your issue. But never keeps itself to itself. I get texts today. I get texts now. People texting me. It's something like phishing, and they text you.
Okay. And so Terry has been vocal about this ongoing addiction and his battle to overcome. And this reminded me of is the conversation I did with Sister Shahrazad Ali, where I asked her about the deepest concern that we should have with our youth. And what she said was them being exposed to sexual material early on, because it can be a traumatic event, one of which can box in their feelings and emotions within that lens for decades to come. Okay. So could it be that Terry, in recognizing that this was a problem for him, created more structure around his daughter's lives because he didn't want them to have the same problems that he did, and maybe he overdid it? Maybe. But this is not only when he's talked about his proclivities. He was recently on and admitted to this.
2000, I had went to a massage parlor and got a hand and cheated on her. And man, I vowed that I would never tell a soul. Like, I was so hurt. I couldn't believe I did that. Like, you think I can only do this and that, it's going to stop here. But it just fueled the want for more. And I actually crossed the line. And when I crossed that line, I couldn't believe I did that. And I said, I'm going to go to my grave with this.
Okay. So even before the reality show, even a couple of years beforehand, this was his activities. He admitted into it, right? And it begins to help you perhaps understand maybe his focus in on his faith for his family and not trying to be controlling or indoctrinating, as the first young daughter framed it. But he was a man who went through his own mess, fought through his own demons, and was trying to build structure within his family so that they would not repeat his mistake, which again, I don't believe is abuse. It's a father trying to course correct. But I do think that the daughters being exposed to this is probably like, well, but you weren't living by that life or these codes or these ethics to begin with. So I'm going to be the complete opposite of what you told us to be because you weren't even living up to those damn standards. With the older daughter being in that purity ring era, which was a little bit different than the younger daughter who's been exposed to way more social media. So now she's out here city girling it up with chest tattoos and shit like that. Like, how do you come from a multimillionaire in one of the most affluent places within the country, and your image is of that of a city girl? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. You should be nothing even close to and are wanting that lifestyle up on the internet to the tune of 100 likes. It makes no damn sense. But raising these kids in the limelight with cameras, with all the praise, attention, and performativeness that goes in and around you, I'm sure has to be one of the most difficult, which is why I don't even know if being a father is a thing that can be accomplished within Hollywood. It's like you want to give your family discipline, restraint, and give them standards. But it seems as though whatever is popularized within Hollywood or Hollyweird is anything but. Shout out to the producers over there at BET because they were trying to show a different facet. But to watch how at least the daughters in the family have degenerated beyond that, I think tells a lot larger of a story. It must be difficult to grow up in the church as well as the spotlight, but it seems like here, the spotlight backfired. But listen, that is a brief synopsis of what I wanted to go through and analyze. How did this get here? Huh? And analyze as a family here today. Hopefully this gives the opportunity for deep analysis, deep criticism down in the comment box down below. The thing is that, I am not a father as of yet. So, I think that my perspective can only come from the way that my father fathered me. I am a boy. I'm a man, but he fathered me as a boy, right? So looking at the things that he would say to me, right? The way that he would construct his words, the way that he would demonstrate through action and not just words. I would watch him do the things that he wanted me to do and the type of man that he wanted me to be. I told this story before, but I'll tell it just real quickly one time. I remember as a kid, multitude of times, right? We go into, like a bodega or something like that. I'm from New York originally. We go into the bodega, we pay for, whatever it is. And it'll be a couple of times that we be walking out and he's looking down at the change and he's like, they gave me the wrong change, right? So then we would go back into the store, way back up online again, all right? And then communicate that it was the wrong change. And he would have me watch this behavior. Not that, we got the wrong change, we good, and we just start running up out of there. You know what I'm saying? He never did it. He always wanted to show me morality through actions. Okay. And I think that, I wasn't raised in Hollywood, right? Like I wasn't raised in Hollywood. I was raised in New York, which had its own little difference or difficulties within that, because how masculinity is defined in a predominantly black neighborhood, being raised in New York, is a lot different than even the way that I define it right now, right? So that had its own issues within it. But nevertheless, I do think that as a man, as a father, your job is structure. Your job is boundaries, being able to put those into a place for your family, for the kids or the relationships that you've built around you, and standing up on business because your why supersedes the words. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, to see the way that the daughters, or at least the first daughter, speaks about the structure through the words of indoctrination as she fights this ideal of purity from now being in Hollywood and, being involved in an LGBTQ relationship. I think it's just fascinating to watch. It helps me understand that, there's only but so much you can't control in an adult, right? They're going to make their own choices and decisions. But what are the things that you are doing as a man and as a father that is lessening the risk for them to go completely astray, lessening the risk for them to hop on the pole, right? Or to digitally display themselves and put their insides of their hips filled with pubic hairs out on the internet, right? Like what would, how do you mitigate that risk? Okay. One can only venture to guess which side of the mindset one has to believe in to liken structure to violence, right? I'm being facetious as I say that because I know exactly which portion, but you understand. But for the men that are watching this, you will not always be thanked for the boundaries. You will never be thanked for holding accountable, because in the short term, it could be seen as obtrusive. All right. But we're long-term thinkers over here. And especially, a culture that tends to reward rebellion or short-term gratification over results or outcomes. All right. Being a leader is a thankless job. You do not have room for applause or standing ovations, but being a good leader and accountable for those around you produces outcomes. All right. So stand on those outcomes. Stand on discipline, protect your family, protect your name, protect those around you, protect your household, even if it feels like it's an uphill battle. All right, guys, that's my thoughts in regards to this content. Let me know what you guys think down up in the comment box down below. I appreciate each and every one of you for continuing to rock with me. Shout out to today's sponsor, Aura. Get your private information off of these public websites. Guys, utilize my link down below for 2 weeks free access to at least see if your information has been exposed. These scammers that are out here are targeting you guys. All right, they're targeting you each and every day, trying to utilize your information to steal from you. All right. Protect yourself in more ways than one. Utilize my link down below to at least see for 2 weeks. You get 2 weeks to see if your information has been exposed. So go right now. All right. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll talk soon. Peace.
So without further ado, MTR, cut through the BS like we in charge. No cap with the rappers like steel bars. I'm packing and rapping like here we are. Here we are. Mediocre tutorial reviews. Like, comment, share my views. Come up and I paid my dues. Big step in my black way shoes. MTR, he break it down, yeah, it's MTR. Check out the sound with his MTR. No one put it down like it's MTR.